is back. NFL is here. We are here for episode 95. I'm your host, Drew Willingham. We got the NFL Hall of Fame game. Trey Hendrickson reports to camp. The Commanders' contract disputes with Terry McLaurin. Micah Parsons now wants out of Dallas, definitely. We got a whole lot of that, the CFL, and much more on episode 95 of Total Football Talk. Welcome, one and all. It's that time again. We're back for Total Football Talk. Again, I am your host, Drew Willingham. We are back for episode 95. And without a shadow of a doubt, I got to click the right transition to get our guy on in here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ryan McCarthy.
Yo, what's going on, Drew? How's it going, everybody?
Enjoying the fine weather here on the East Coast as it has been
seriously
hot, and today it's in the 70s. It's 74.
Dude, it's been a dime of a day here in New York State. It was 54 degrees when I walked out the door to go to the gym this morning. Low humidity, cool air. Awesome day.
It feels like a September day. As
right?
we just had football last night, the Hall of Fame game. I mean, I know we can't get but so excited because of, the main ones aren't in there. But at the same time, it's back. You got some young up-and-comers fighting for a spot on the roster between the Chargers, between the Lions. We're not going to really touch too much base on that until we get to a topic here within the Gridiron Scoop. But with that being said, we've got that and so much more to get, underway here on this episode. Let's go ahead and start it off with some CFL action, get that underway with the opening drive.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989, on two. Ready?
Here at the opening drive, we got a game to discuss that almost slipped through the fingers of my team, known as the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They looked like they were getting roughed up in this game. I mean, come on, man. I mean, Trevor Harris, 25 of 33, 268 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 1 carry for 3 yards. AJ Ouellette, 15 carries for 62 rushing yards and 3 receptions for 11 receiving yards as well. One of the highlights for this team, though, was the 2 receivers on offense. Samuel Emilus with 6 receptions for 113 receiving yards and a touchdown, along with Keyshawn Johnson, who had 9 receptions for 78 yards and a touchdown. The Rough Riders defense, let's bring us back up on the screen for this one. The Rough Riders defense had 8 sacks in this game. The Elks gave up 8 sacks in this game. And the Rough Riders even had 6 penalties for 53 yards. They were still playing sloppy, yet were able to get 8 sacks with their defense. So they were literally controlling the points of the game. However, when you have a 3-point victory against a team that's been playing as bad as the Elks have been playing this year, it's a little concerning, especially when your kicker missed 2 field goals. He was 2 of 4 on the day for field goals, only putting up 8 points. Cody Fajardo on the other side for the Elks, 26 of 33 for 346 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, along with 4 carries for 20 yards on the day. Now, the Elks total rushing without Cody Fajardo, 5 carries for 5 yards.
Ew.
What in the expletive is going on in this game. Stephen Dunbar, 5 receptions, 82 receiving yards, and a touchdown, along with Keon Julian Grant's 2 receptions for 69 yards and a touchdown as well. The biggest crucial thing, besides giving up the 8 sacks, was they had 11 penalties for 133 yards. So they were even worse than what the Roughriders were able to pull off. Ryan, this game was ugly and not
Get the graphic. Get the graphic.
It was without a shadow of a doubt.
Those shoes should be green. for both teams.
I was about to say, we got to have the mixed colored greens in there. You got to have both because it was just so bad. But
Green
overall,
and white,
man,
the green and yellow. Yep, absolutely, man. Yeah, let's discuss this game. Saskatchewan, they were up by as many as 17 entering the fourth quarter. And this was almost a huge, huge opportunity for the Edmonton Elks to come back and take this game away from them. It always seems like ex-Riders former Roughriders players, whether they're traded, whether they leave town because they're in the case of Cody Fajardo, he left in free agency in 2022, went to Montreal, and won a Grey Cup for my Montreal Alouettes. Yeah. Traded to Edmonton in the offseason. It seems like every time there's an ex-Rough Rider in this game who's a notable name, and when they go back home, they go back to the place that they excelled and they had a really good season in their career. They want to win there, not to show up the fans, not to show up the team that they let them go. Although you could argue that the Rough Riders I wouldn't say the Rough Riders, but their fans chased Fajardo out of town, based on the fact that he couldn't really lead them to a Grey Cup, and he won one with Montreal. That gives a player extra motivation. And the fact of the matter is that I've talked about this Rough Riders defense, how they have the ability to stop the run. Now, the Elks running game isn't that strong, although we saw a couple weeks ago against Ottawa, got a great game with Justin Rankin, had an excellent game. He was my dog of the week a few weeks ago.
He was.
When you stop the run, 5 carries for 5 yards total, with outside of Cody Fajardo, who had 20 yards, a lot of those yards were scrambling. You have to rely on the pass. And when you're down 21-4, yes, I said 4 for our American audience. You can score 4 points in a football game, primarily on missed field goals. But when you're up 17, when you're down 17, and your run game's not only getting stopped, but you're taking sack after sack after sack. They had 8. Yeah, you mentioned the Riders had 8 sacks, and a lot of those sacks didn't come on blitzes. These were just regular 4 lineman packages, and they just got home. I was listening to some of the game on the radio. That's what part of it was. It was just sending 4, and they made the Elks O-line look like Swiss cheese. They looked like they had holes in the sheets. It's crazy. It was a crazy game in that regard. This game should have been won by a lot more, but it just seems like the offense for the Rough Riders couldn't get going. They couldn't get going in the fourth quarter when they had multiple chances to put it away. Brett Lothar again being a little bit inconsistent, 2 of 4 on field goals, and they had multiple chances to try and really improve their standing in terms of placement for the playoffs, which I don't know if you know it's true. This week, we're a couple weeks away from the halfway point of the season already. And this is when you start to see around Labor Day, which happy August 1st, everybody.
Yes.
Around Labor Day, you start to see teams separate themselves. You see this. You see the playoff teams. You see the teams that are going to try to finish that first place, get that all important bye for the playoffs for the division final because they get a bye week, they get an extra week to get healthy, to look at the team they're going to possibly play. But Saskatchewan in this game, they had a chance to make this not only just a huge loss for the Elks, but an embarrassing loss for the Elks just based on the score line. Not just the score line, but the stat sheet as well. 8 sacks, 5 yards outside of Cody Pergiato, 5 yards rushing, 9 carries, 25 yards. That's not even 3 yards a carry. I mean, it was embarrassing at that point, but Cody Pergiato, to his credit, slinging the ball, 2 touchdowns, and almost single-handedly led this team to a huge comeback win. And for an Elks team that's still trying to grow, they're still trying to find their identity. And with a first-year head coach, you go with your veteran. In this case, it worked. It helped out. And he almost led them to a win in division rivals home. So give all the credit in the world to the Elks for trying to making it an entertaining game. As for your Roughriders, Drew, they got some work to do. Even though they had 8 sacks, they almost surrendered a 17-point lead, and the offense just seemed to not be able to convert when they needed to convert and try to get more touchdowns, get more points on the board to help their standing. But right as of right now, they're in first place based on last night's result, which we'll get to in a moment or two. But yeah, this game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. And give credit where credit's due to Edmonton, although the record doesn't really state so. This team is better than their record. But as Bill Parcells put it, your record tells you who you are. And right now they're in last place in the West. But we still have half a season to decide. So you could see Edmonton put pieces together for a possible run. But right now, the Roughriders are in first place. They're in first place for a reason. But although their offense, if they don't pick it up this week against Montreal, who's one of the better defenses in the league, it's gonna be a dogfight in the West between them and Calgary for the rest of the league.
Dogfight. This was not a dogfight, though, whatsoever. It was embarrassing, and as a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan, I was not pleased, except for the 8 sacks. That I was pleased with. The fact that Trevor Harris didn't turn the ball over, there were no interceptions. But AJ, he's kind of had some inconsistent games this year. It's affected them a little bit, but at the same time, I would much rather these issues be exposed early on and they find ways to figure it out and overcome them towards the 3/4 of the way to the, fully all the way through the season. So that way they can make their mark, get into the playoffs, get to the Grey Cup, and who knows, maybe make some damage, come away with the championship. But it's wishful thinking, probably. Just a little bit. Just a smidgen. But hey, everybody's got to have their dreams. Don't hate on me for having mine. As we have a couple comments here in the chat. Sick Dicky says, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Happy Friday and happy 1st of the month.
The 1st of the month. Wake up, get up.
It's the 1st of the month.
Bone Thugs and Harmony in your ear.
Yes. Take me back. Isn't that like 30 years old now?
Gosh, almost.
Jeez. We're getting old, man. We're getting old. We're so getting old. Desiree Sunshine from your channel says, hey, fellas. Well, hello to you too. Welcome to the platform.
Desi's in the chat. Love some Desi. She's a big Bama fan. She's one of our regular cred heads. So she's a big Bama fan from Alabama. And yes, 1st of the month by Bone Thugs and Harmony is officially 30 years old. God, we're old.
I do recall her from said chat. Welcome to here between the simulcast between the two. And Sick D says, I'm a longtime supporter of BTNH at Ryan McCarthy for Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's the first of the month.
Wake up, get up, get up. All right, I'll stop because of copyright.
Did I even clean my? I haven't cleaned my beard today for this program, so hopefully you guys approve because it was looking pretty bad. I was looking pretty destitute for a minute.
You're
the hair,
looking a little homeless.
Yeah, the hair's still there. I haven't cut that, but I cleaned it up for you guys today. I was called destitute the other day, so I don't want to be destitute. Okay,
I did take a shower this afternoon. Yeah, I put the little beard shampoo, washed my beard.
You put some boo up in there.
Yeah,
put some boo up in there. You get that boo jank. From the top rope, Edmonton has suffered enough. Just push him off the top rope, man. Push them off the top rope, Dustin. We've had enough. Take them out of their misery. Don't worry. The spoiler alert, I'm going to be going off on them again at some point in the show. So
he's an Oilers fan, the fan of the hockey team there. That's why he's saying that. Edmonton suffered.
And she says she likes some Bone Thugs. I have not met one person who does. Yeah, I was about to say, I've not met one person who doesn't like Bone Thugs.
Between first of the month, see what's the Crossroads. I mean, you got some bangers in there, man.
Crossroads is probably my favorite one. Yeah, you are far from destitute, my friend. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sometimes, the hair goes to one side of the head when you wake up. It's tough having long hair, man. This is part 2, the second act. Okay, so.
Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
It literally took me to my 30s before I started growing hair again, or growing hair for real.
Yeah,
I'm not getting it like this again though. Not doing it. Okay.
Oh, come on.
Not gonna be that long. It's there for the graphic. Yes.
That's a solid
We're
look,
not going
man.
that long again.
Come on, it's a solid look. I know you complained about how it's lots of maintenance. I'm like, now you know how what women go through to keep their hair nice and silky shiny.
New refounded respect. Absolutely. First of the month from the 1999 Eternal album is a classic. So is the Crossroads.
Yep. Back to Bone Thugs and Harmony. First of the month.
Crossroads for sure. Yes, you guys we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
No, I think you went the wrong hair.
Oh, the long hair.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting there. It's kind of put up, but we're 15 months in since I donated it, and I haven't cut it since.
You're rocking the headband. That's why I get the man bun-ish today.
I had to for Hulk Hogan, brother. Still
right, brother.
We got Hulk Hogan, Ozzy. We've had so many losses here lately, but
crazy.
We'll touch more on that here later on. But for right now, we still have 3 more games left to go to here in the opening drive. Let's go ahead and take it to the Saturday game. I know, for those of you out there who've been with us since the start of the program, I failed. If I do it again, I'm going to give myself the honorable mention for Snowflake of the Week because I didn't click the Friday button, but I gave you the Saturday one. And speaking of Saturday,
well, hold on. You didn't click the Friday button, but you played the graphic for the opening drop. So I'll get. You got respect for that from me.
And we have an additional button to click. Because we have an upset of the week alert with this one for this Saturday game between the Argonauts and the Blue Bombers. Argonauts showed up at home winning 31-17 in this contest. And looking at this, Nick Arbuckle, 22 of 31 for 316 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 3 carries for 32 yards on the ground. Kalen LeBourne had 13 carries for 50 yards. Not spectacular, but enough to get some damage done between that and what the quarterback did. DeVaris Daniels, 4 receptions for 66 receiving yards and a touchdown, along with DeMonte Coxey, 6 receptions for 145 receiving yards and a touchdown. Between Daniels and Coxey, that's literally all Arbuckle needed on offense to snag in those passes. Argo's defense had 1 sack, 2 fumble recoveries, and 2 interceptions, one by Cameron Judge and the other by Benji Franklin. our guy, Ryan, we got to come back up on the screen for this because our guy right here, he even deserves another moving graphic because Lirim showed up in this game, kicked not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but what LeBron hoped he had is 6 championships. No, he kicked 6 field goals. Okay. 6 field goals, but out of 6 attempts, he was perfect on the day when it comes to that. And he had accrued 19 points. So 19 of those 31 points. If it wasn't for Lirim, Ryan, we wouldn't be talking about the Argonauts in this way today. So for that, shout to Lirim. But on the other side, Chris Strevler, 11 of 18, 148 passing yards, and a touchdown, along with 4 carries for 16 yards, taking over for the injured Zach Collaros, who had 5 passes completed out of 10 attempts for 79 passing yards and 2 interceptions. Brady Oliveira, 13 carries for 82 rushing yards and 2 receptions for 38 receiving yards. So between the two, he mustered up over 100 total all-purpose yards. Jareth Stearns had 4 receptions for 72 receiving yards and a touchdown, along with Nick Dembski, who had 46 receiving yards on 1 catch. The Blue Bombers offense, 7 turnovers, 2 of those being fumbles, 2 more being interceptions, and 3 of them being turnovers on downs. 7 turnovers by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offense. And for the total penalties they had in this game, 6 for 55. They were doing damage, but to themselves. Ryan, looking back at this game, what are your overall thoughts when it comes to the Argonauts laying the smack it down on the Blue Bombers?
Hey, Charles, tell us how you feel about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers' performance.
That's terrible.
Thank you, Charles. Yeah, 6 field goals by Lirim Hajrullahu was the biggest difference in this game. But the other biggest difference was the fact that the Bombers' offense was just, they were not great. It was Zach Collaros leaves the game once again. He did a couple weeks ago in Calgary, left the game with a neck injury, with a head injury, and Chris Strevler comes in and tries to make something of nothing, and he didn't. Same thing here. Chris Strevler, as I've noted, he doesn't have the same. He's got a different skill set than Zach Collaros. In that he's better on second and short, third and short situations. Can run little gadgets here and there, but doesn't have the same arm strength as he did a few seasons ago when he started in this league. And it shows this Winnipeg offense. And again, I've said it numerous times on this show. If your starting quarterback goes down in this league, you're in a whole lot of trouble. And it happened once again in this game. Your starting quarterback went down, and you just couldn't make it. You couldn't make up the difference. And Collaros throws 2 interceptions. Again, uncharacteristic of him before the injury. So, Strevler tried to fill in, but again, you can't fit the ball in tight windows like Collaros can. He doesn't have the same arm strength as Collaros. So this offense struggled. And they struggled to the tune of 7 turnovers. And they didn't get inside the red zone. They didn't finish inside the red zone until the end of the third quarter. And that's when they scored their first touchdown of the game. And it just didn't. And their other touchdown was a defensive touchdown, which the defense, at least the defense showed up. They had 5 sacks and a turnover for a touchdown. It turned into points on the fumble recovery, a scoop and score. But this game could have been a lot worse if they didn't have that defensive touchdown. Because unlike Winnipeg, who, in some respect, they were moving the ball, and Oliveira had 82 yards rushing, but they couldn't find the end zone. Could not find the end zone. Toronto, nice home game. It's a good home game. 316 yards for Nick Arbuckle, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, they did what they had to do. They had to get off the schneid somehow. Their one victory was over lowly Ottawa this year. In Ottawa. And they're trying to keep pace for a playoff spot, and they did it so, and they did it so at the expense of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Which, fun fact, last year they swept the Blue Bombers in 3 games, including the Grey Cup. I think I mentioned that fun factoid last week. But man, last year we spoke about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers when they started 0-4. Fans were saying, "Oh, is it time? Is it time for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to blow it up? Are they getting too old? Are they getting too? Is this run over?" To which I said, no. And they came back and they won. They went on a nice winning streak and they won up the Western champion and they represented the West Division in the Grey Cup final, in the Grey Cup championship game. But now injuries are starting to pile up. Their offensive line has not been as good as it has been in previous years. They're not running the ball like they have been in previous seasons. And now I'm starting to wonder if this is maybe the end of the road for this particular era of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They've won 5 straight West Division championships. They've won 2 Grey Cups in that 5-year span. And I've said that they don't rebuild, they reload, but now I'm starting to wonder with a lot of these guys like Kolaros, Strebler, Willie Jefferson on the other side of the ball, Nick Dembski, these guys are starting to hit the end towards the end of their career. And they've had a great run in Winnipeg, but now I wonder if this is starting to turn into what might be the end of the road for this Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I wouldn't say it's a dynasty because they've been to 5 straight Grey Cups, but they've only won 2. So people are starting to wonder if this Winnipeg Blue Bombers team, if this might be the end of the road for this particular era of the team.
And we see it all the time in different leagues, different sports too. Teams that have had a really good run at some point, they take a dive. It's some teams it could be for a couple of years, some teams it could be for a couple of decades. Just hopefully that's not going to be the stretch here for the Blue Bombers, because there are still a lot of fans of this franchise who want to see them turn this thing around. So hopefully it doesn't continue to be terrible over here, because when it comes to this game, not much further behind as far as how bad it was. There just wasn't enough action from one team in the first game. This one, there was just some incompetence that showed up at certain points throughout certain plays. And when
ugly football.
Yes. And when you have 7 turnovers on the game, you're lucky you only lost by 14 points with 7 turnovers. That's absolutely insane. And they deserved to lose by much more than what they actually did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even Devon chimes in.
Oh, my brother, testify.
And for that, we still have 2 more games here left in the opening drive. Let's go ahead and take it on into the next one that happened to be on Sunday. In this game right here, it qualifies for the Game of the Week.
Game of the Week.
For episode 95, because of what transpired. Bo Levi Mitchell leading this team to its 5th consecutive victory here. 37-33 over the BC Lions for the final Week 8 game here in the CFL. And, Bo Levi was 34 of 41 completions out of attempts for 389 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, along with 1 interception. He did have 4 carries for 23 yards on the day, contributing to what was over 400 total all-purpose yards. Greg Bell had 11 carries for 56 yards on the ground, along with 3 receptions for 26 yards. Keandre Smith, the MVP for this team in this game, 14 receptions, 138 receiving yards, along with 2 touchdowns. Brendan O'Leary Orange added 3 receptions for 63 yards and called the 3rd touchdown pass by Bo Levi Mitchell. The Tiger Cats defense had 1 sack and 1 fumble recovery on the day. Now, the penalties, they had 8 for 60 yards, which happened to be more than the losing team. but Mark Lehio Maehio was 3 of 3, perfect on field goals for the day for a total of 13 points. On the other side for the BC Lions, Nathan Rourke was 20 of 27 for 289 passing yards, 4 carries for 34 yards on the ground as well. James Butler added 16 carries for 115 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Between that and Nathan Rourke not turning the ball over, it wasn't that bad when it comes to the fact of not having any interceptions for this game. And your running back was able to run for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also added 1 reception for -1 yards. That did James Butler. Keon Hatcher, 5 receptions for 117 receiving yards. And Aiden Eberhardt, 2 receptions for 58 yards. Round out the receiving core for this losing side of the game. Lions defense had an interception by Rob Carter Jr. And again, they had 4 penalties for 31 yards, being less than what the actual winning team did. Sean White, the kicker, was perfect on the day for field goals, like Mark Lehio Maehio, who had 15 points as well between the 4 field goals. There was some ugliness here with some penalties, but overall, this was deserving of the game of the week. And Ryan, as you think about that, tell us why.
So remember last week I was kind of opining about how the Hamilton Tiger Cats, to some people, were kind of a mirage, and myself included, were a little bit of a mirage because of the fact that their 4 wins had been against teams that did not have their starting quarterback or were struggling this season. And I said the first test for this, basically their first test for them, is to travel west, play a BC Lions team that is very good offensively and kind of I would say mid defensively. They passed the test. So starting to believe in Bo Levi Mitchell, and he's having an MVP type season, most outstanding player type season. And if he keeps this up, I mean, right now it's a 2-team race in the East between them and the Alouettes. And Bo Levi having another near 400-yard game, only 7 incompletions. That's super efficient. That's a super efficient game for a core. And this is why he's one of the, I would consider Bo Levi Mitchell the best quarterback in the 2010s and now into the 2020s. And to think, when he was at Calgary, his final season in Calgary, he was released and he was traded for draft rights. I have to wonder if Calgary gave up on him too soon, because there was, I guess, he had some injury problems with his shoulder, but he, instead of having surgery, he just changed the way he threw, and he's thrown the ball really well. He's got a great core of receivers to help him. Keandre Smith, two receptions away from tying the single game record in the CFL with completions in a game. 4 players hold that distinction, by the way. The last time it was done was in 2010 by a Hamilton Tiger Cat. And we could have had another receiver who had a record-breaking game. Actually, he was one behind the all-time record for receptions by a Canadian receiver. It's 15, but the record overall is 16 by Keandre Smith. He had 14 receptions. Huge game, 2 touchdowns. But you gotta give credit to the Hamilton Tiger Cats defense, because yes, they allowed 33 points. They allowed 33 points to one of the best offenses in the league. But they got the 2-and-out when they needed to get a 2-and-out the most, because they were trailing by 10 with 3:53 to go. They score a touchdown. They get the ball back to the Lions, and they get a 2-and-out, which forced a punt, and Bo Levi Mitchell doing what he does best. And I was texting with you in Messenger saying, this is the game of the week. This is just this fourth quarter of this game was cinema, was pure cinema. 27 points between both teams. It was an incredible game. And if you go, I would highly encourage you after the show, go to the CFL YouTube page. Look at the highlights from this game, especially the fourth quarter. Especially in the fourth quarter, this fourth quarter was just incredible. But again, give credit to the Tiger Cats defense for getting that 2-and-out when they needed to get the ball back. And they looked like they were going to go for the tie. They weren't going for the tie. They're going for the win. Bo Levi Mitchell wanted to win that game. And I believe he was perfect on that last drive. If I'm going back in my, if I go back here, I think he was, no, he wasn't perfect in the last drive. He was actually, he had one incompletion on that last drive. But incredible job by him. I also give credit to the Lions. The Lions, Nathan Rourke, comparable numbers, no passing touchdowns. But James Butler, when you have James Butler, like playing against his old team, 115 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. And when you play your old team, you want to show up and show them out and saying, hey, look at what you missed out on. You chose me. You chose Greg Bell over me. All right, I'm going to run for 115 yards in this game. And he did. And by the way, one other thing you'll see in this game in the highlights, that highlight reel interception by Robert Carter Jr. Unbelievable. One of the one-handed grab, just going for the ball, and incredible. It's magical. CFL is underrated, man. If you're not watching, gotta watch. Just for stuff like this, the one-handed interceptions, the defensive stops when you need it, the game-winning scores, the game-winning drives. This game had it all.
And each down definitely feels more important than NFL, because you've got 3 downs for a first down instead of 4. You know, as I've brought up several times, I'm still getting over that. But at the same time, it's a lot more impactful because you got literally 2 downs to get it done, and if not, you're punting. So it's still weird for me getting used to that. But at the same time, you cannot take anything away from the leadership these veterans have been providing for the Tiger Cats, and the main one being for the offensive side being this guy in the picture, Bo Levi Mitchell, because I had him as the grand champ of the week last week. You could argue that with his stats being better this week, that he deserves to be there again. So this was a huge victory. I mean, they've been big wins over this 5-game stretch, but this one, I feel like, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but I feel like this is the biggest win they've had out of the 5 games.
No, I don't disagree. This is the biggest game because BC coming in this game, they were 3-4 and trying to get back to 500, and Hamilton got the win once again. And it's funny. Last year when Hamilton goes to BC in a must-win situation, and they beat BC almost the same manner. Although last year's game in BC went to overtime, but it was very similar in that way. But they got the win, and yeah, this was impressive.
The Lions are feeling like this after the game. Because they did mollywop them, even though it was only by 4 points. You still gave up 37. And I know you're on the other side saying, well, they gave up 33. Still, it's a lot of points. Between the two, 70 total points. It's a lot.
You had the over. Congratulations. You cashed that ticket.
Did. With that being said, that covers the games from week 8. Let's go ahead and take a look at the game from last night for the start of week 9. No matter what, when it comes to football, somebody's got to take the... And this game was no different between the Calgary Stampeders and the Ottawa Redblacks. And, another game that, we can't have two upsets of the week, but this was another game that I didn't see going that way. And I know that my cohort right here would feel the same way. And I usually don't speak for people, but in this case, with what we've been discussing so far during the CFL season, I feel like it's warranted because Drew Brown comes in 19 to 27 yards in the return game, 19 to 27 completions out of attempt, I should say, 225 passing yards for 2 touchdowns, did throw 1 interception, but he added 1 carry for 16 yards. Dustin Crum, goes back to the backup role of quarterback, but does get out there for 3 carries for 7 total yards, and it adds a rushing touchdown to the total score to help them out in this game. He only did average 2.3 yards per carry, though. Just want to mention that. But Williams stand back, though, on the other side for the actual running back for this team, had 13 carries for 52 rushing yards, 3 receptions for 15 yards as well. Eugene Lewis had 5 receptions for 110 yards, and Justin Hardy had 4 receptions for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns, hauling in both thrown by Drew Brown. The Redblacks defense had 1 sack and 3 interceptions, one by Elijah McGee, the other by Amari Henderson, and DeAndre Lamont. The Redblacks' total penalties for the game, they mustered up 5 for a total of 55 yards, and they were 3 of 4 in the red zone for a total of 75%, which is what led to the outcome that they received with winning by 20 points. PJ Walker on the other side for the Stampeders, filling in for the injured Vernon Adams Jr., 20 of 37 for 273 passing yards, a passing touchdown, and 3 interceptions. He did have 1 carry for 12 yards, but outside of his 1 carry for 12 yards, the total rushing for the Stampeders was 16 carries. I'm bringing this back up on the screen for this nonsense. 16 carries for 23 yards. Yeah, 16 carries for 23 yards. Dumpster Pelican-like numbers. And you know what? With that being said, it's time that you get that brought up on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. They are, without a shadow of a doubt, the number 1 Dumpster Pelican of Week 9 so far, because there's only 1 game right now in Week 9. But if you compare them with the Elks of the game that we just talked about a few minutes ago, they are 1-2 for Dumpster Pelicans within the past week, because that is absolutely terrible. 16 carries as a running back core for 23 yards. The 16 carries, I'm not mad about, but the 23 yards is absolutely wild. Dominique Rhymes had 4 receptions for 103 yards for a touchdown, but he dropped 7 passes. He had 11 targets in this game and only caught 4 of them. Just imagine what he would have done had he caught at least half of the other ones, at least 3 more of those drops that he had. Eric Brooks had his 6 receptions for 69 yards in the air as well. In the Stampeders defense, they did have 2 sacks and an interception by Jaden Grant, but I mean, that's literally like cleanup duty. You're not really, the stats don't really mean anything at that point. Stampeders' total defense, their total penalties, my apologies. Their total penalties, the worst out of any team for the weekend. 12 penalties in a game for 113 yards. And to make things just a little bit worse, we had a kicker who was the worst of them all this weekend, too, missing 3 field goals. He was 1 of 4 for field goals out of attempts and only mustered up 4 points. With all those Dumpster Pelican-like numbers I just threw out there, Ryan McCarthy, I know it was a terrible. However, with all that being said, what are your overall thoughts about this game we saw last night?
Well, if you mustered up only 1 of 4 field goals, you have to play a lot of catch up.
Thank you! Thank
So as soon as I heard that Vernon Adams Jr. was going to be out for this game and PJ Walker was going to be placed in his stead, I said to myself, Ottawa's winning this week. Ottawa's going to win. And the Stampeders, to their credit, I wouldn't say to their credit, but they had a lot of injuries after last week's game in Montreal. They lost their best receiver, their quarterback, had a couple of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, especially the secondary. So coming into this game, it was a hurting unit. This was a hurt horsey, to put it this way. So they had to rely on their defense. Their defense did an okay job, although the 2 touchdowns they had, like they allowed early, they kind of set the tone for the rest of the game, because against this Ottawa Redblacks team, which has been playing poorly. And I gotta correct myself here. They weren't early touchdowns by the Redblacks because they were playing 2-and-out football for the first quarter, up until they scored the touchdown in the first play of the second quarter. But a couple touchdowns in the first half, touchdown in the first half, touchdowns in the second quarter, or third quarter, excuse me. The defense was playing inspired football for the Stampeders. 2 sacks and an interception, trying to keep them in the game. But PJ Walker, who in the XFL with the Houston Roughnecks in 2020 was an absolute stud. People were talking about him making plays. That's 5 years ago. It's a lot that's happened between XFL 2020, 2.0, rest in peace, and 2025. I mean, we bounced around the NFL for a little bit, played a couple of games, had a cup of coffee with the Browns. I think it was last year. Played for the Panthers a couple seasons ago for a couple of games. He's not the same quarterback as he was back in the XFL and his NFL days. And he struggled. You see it in the stat line. 20 of 37. A touchdown. 3 interceptions. He did not have an outstanding game. Because on the flip side, Ottawa's defense played pretty well. I mean, they've played soft, but in the first couple games of the season, but they came to play in this one, and they knew they're going to play a backup quarterback who's missing his best receiver, and they're going to have some trouble with trying to get carries on the board for their primary running back, which resulted in 23 yards. When you stop the run and you clog the lanes in terms of receivers, you're going to force a lot of turnovers. And they forced 3 interceptions. One of those interceptions, particularly by Elijah McGee, was returned for a long pick six. It was a 55 yard pick six in the third quarter. And that put the Redblacks up by 20 at that point. So Ottawa, their offense played ugly, but they got the win. They put the points on the board where they needed to. The defense contributed with 3 interceptions, one which became a touchdown. And I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due. Calgary's defense played really well, despite the fact they were missing some of their best defensive personnel, but their offense didn't step up because their quarterback didn't step up. And gee, this record seems to repeat a lot. When your number one quarterback goes down in this league, it seems like the backups tend to struggle. And this was pretty evident in this game with PJ Walker having the game that he had. That one touchdown basically came up in garbage time when they're already down 20. So Calgary better hope that Big Play VA is back healthy. I think they only played 2 games this month. So do they have a bye week next week? I believe they have a bye week next week. No, they don't. They're back home against Winnipeg, who is going to be mad they beat up on them a few weeks ago at home. But yeah, they better hope that some of their personnel come back healthy and play well, because Without a lot of this personnel that they have, this is what turns up. This is what turns up an ugly effort on the opposite side of the ball, where they only have 23 rushing yards. I'm sorry, 35 rushing yards on 17 carries, which is just over 2 yards a carry. And your quarterback is not playing to the expectations that they brought him in for. They set him up. They set up the coaches set up their players to perform, but it's up to the players to execute. And PJ Walker just simply didn't execute in this game.
He was executed.
Yeah.
He was. That's exactly what it felt like with watching it. It was bad. It was bad that the NFL Hall of Fame game last night was seeming more interesting when the third and fourth stringers were in there in comparison to the way that this game went. So when you look at it, put everything all into one, it's understandably so why the Calgary Stampeders are struggling to the point that they are. Vernon Adams Jr. is literally what Bo Levi Mitchell is to the Tiger Cats. There's just two different teams around them, and one of them's doing a really good job of staying healthy right now. So with all that being said, hopefully Vernon can bounce back quick. But with the ball being in the hands of PJ Walker, it's not looking good.
No.
So,
and you talk about the injuries, and there's been injuries to several players this year who are superstars in this league. And I think it comes back to, I mentioned this a few weeks ago, if you want this league to be considered serious, you want this league seriously, treat everybody like professionals. Pay them to be professionals, pay them to take their job seriously, because a lot of these guys, they're working a second job in the offseason. Especially if you're a rookie, because rookie, you get paid scale, you get paid like $50,000 US. A longer preseason will avoid injuries. A longer training camp will prevent injuries. OTAs help prevent injuries. So I hate the fact that we have all these starting quarterbacks: Kalaros, VA, Vernon Adams Jr., Davis Alexander. A lot of these Drew Brown last week, he got smacked because of bad line play, and thankfully, for him, his couple of his offensive linemen, they came back healthy this week and did an okay job, keeping him upright, two sacks compared to the last couple of weeks. But you want this league to be a star-driven league, your stars got to be healthy, and that starts with paying them like professionals, helping them realize this is a professional job. You got to go out there and perform and protecting players too.
Go out there like the hoodie always told him and do your job. And now he's telling college kids that. But I digress, because
his girlfriend by his side.
I was about to go there, but I was going to let it go for the sake of, we're not talking college football. But on the other note, we'll see how the hoodie season goes, because it's about to start up and it's going to get hot real fast, I think, and not in a good way. But we shall see. But with that being said, we've now gone through all 4 games here in the opening drive. We're going to take it to our first commercial break. And when we come back, we got the grand champ, the Gridiron Scoop, the Snowflake of the Week, and the 2-minute drill. Much more here on episode 95 of Total Football Talk.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Ready.
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this. Join Ryan McCarthy.
I became a Jets fan because Kermit the Frog was my favorite Muppet because he was green, and the Jets wore green. That's how I became a Jets fan.
And Dustin Henry.
ESPN is cashing all in on, let's pay a few personalities and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps.
As they walk you through all of the world of sports from their perspective.
The Albany Empire, it's a literal circus.
No credentials required. Where, Ryan, say the tag.
Where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on YouTube and where you can find podcasts.
Drew,
That's-
Drew, I'm hearing a bunch of stuff in your mind. I know you know this team very well. Are you in and out, my friend?
This team, as a fan for the past 18 months, it has been terrible.
As an analyst.
Experience. As an analyst, going through the experience as an analyst, and also as a closet fan of the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins. It is a travesty. I am out.
Get the f*** out of here!
I believe that they will not make the playoffs this year. Come on, they are 2-6. I don't care how much of a fan I am. I don't care how much of a past fan I am to have a half sleeve dedicated to them. It doesn't matter. They SUCK.
Hey, what's good, everybody? This your boy Corey, host of The Grind, where we talk about all things WWE. You can catch The Grind every single Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern. 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on Sertoba Media. If you're not following Sertoba Media, then what are you doing? Like, share, subscribe. There are many different things that we have available on Sertoba Media for your viewing pleasure. And what else you got to do on a Saturday afternoon? Come spend some time with me. Come spend some time with my colleagues on this platform. Help us be able to bring everything that you all want to see. Matter of fact, you know what? If you ain't did it yet, I got something for you. Stay true to what you do. Stay true to why you do. And always stay true to you.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
It's time for the Grand Champ of the Week. And when it comes to the Grand Champ of the Week, this is where we give our take on who we thought was the MVP of said week. Could be anyone within those games. And normally within this process, when we come back from commercial break, Ryan would be the first one to go. But Ryan has not come back yet, so I'll go ahead and go first with my pick of the Grand Champ of the Week. And my pick is Bo Levi Mitchell. What a surprise! I told you earlier, I almost gave you a spoiler then, but I was saving it because I did choose him. 34-41 for completions out of attempts, 389 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Yeah, he had an interception, but the overall stats were better than what he had in the previous week. Bo Levi Mitchell, without a shadow of a doubt, Ryan McCarthy, is my pick for the Grand Champ of the Week.
No shocker. You're a believer.
And now it's time for you to tell the people who you picked.
My pick of the week for my Grand Champ. My Grand Champ is Keandre Smith, wide receiver from the University of Guelph. Go Griffins. 14 receptions, 138 yards. Was 2 receptions away from tying the all-time single game record in the CFL for receptions. 1 game for receptions by a Canadian. 138 yards, 69 yards after catch. Nice. And 2 receiving touchdowns in that comeback win.
Nice.
By the Hamilton Tiger Cats over the BC Lions. Impressive performance. He's and hey, the guy who's stealing the ball is Drew's Grand Champ, and the guy who is catching those balls is my Grand Champ.
It's not that often that we have the same pick for the Grand Champ coming from the same team. But yeah, it's a pretty rare feat, but both of them deserved it for what they did in this past week, for the numbers they put up. That is why they are our selections for Grand Champ of the Week. With with that being said, it's now time to take it on into the Gridiron Scoop. We talked about at the start of the show that the NFL Hall of Fame game was last night. Quarterback Trey Lance leads the Chargers to win over Lions in a strong showing. Did this game get his NFL career back on track, or is this 5 years too late?
As a backup, yeah, it got his career back on track as a backup, because I think Trey Lance, man, that 2021 quarterback draft class, man, that's got to be a case study, because this quarterback draft class was just, especially the first round, is so star-crossed. It's incredibly star-crossed, and it deserves a study, because he had what, 5 picks by quarterbacks, 5 picks in the first 10 of that draft, and it just seems like nobody can get their career going. Trevor Lawrence, a mild exception, but still. And yes, there is no greater prize in all sports than the Satroba Media Belt. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. And all 4 of these guys have struggled. A couple of these guys, you could argue, they're not NFL quarterbacks. They're not NFL quarterbacks. And you could have said the same thing for Trey Lance here. Because didn't work out in San Fran. Got traded to Dallas. There were rumblings that the reason why he wasn't put in the lineup because they were worried that Dak was going to be overshadowed. That's why he was 3rd string and not 2nd string in Dallas. And now he gets to kind of renew his career in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Stupid Spanos family. We go on. But, I mean, part of the reason why Trey Lance, his career development got cut short in a way is because North Dakota State did not play in 2020. They played one spring game in 2021 because they just needed to play to showcase his talent, or you played one game in 2020 to showcase his talent for the draft. Personally, I mean, my point of view, maybe it's his hindsight, I think Trey Lance should have came out in 2021. I think he should have taken the chance to go to a school instead of a FCS school, go to a FBS school, try to improve his draft standing there, and develop his skills as a quarterback, and maybe go to another team and have the success that he probably would have had as a quarterback. Because he's not a bad quarterback. He just wasn't given a too big of a chance, too much of a chance to succeed between the injury he suffered in 2021, being stuck behind Jimmy G, then being stuck behind Brock Purdy, who came out literally was Mr. Irrelevant and became a star. Then getting traded to Dallas and get stuck behind Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush. And now he's got a chance to really make himself a nice career as a backup to Justin Herbert. So I would say, yes, his career is back. But I think his success there would have been a lot more success for him if he had not declared in 2021. If he had maybe stayed an extra year, transferred to a bigger school to get the proper coaching to make him NFL ready.
And unfortunately, there is no way that he can
Delete!
and start over.
Yeah.
He made the decision to come out of college a year early. It didn't quite pan out.
Yeah, it's too sad.
But I agree with you 100% on this take right here, and only time will tell. But at least it looks like he's planted his feet into the NFL as far as a backup, and not finding his way into the UFL in 2026. You know, it's looking pretty good for him to at least stick around for a little bit longer.
I will say this: his dad played for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So he could be a CFL quarterback. We don't know.
I think that would be taking a. When you look at the hype that he had coming into the NFL to start with. So
True.
With all that being said, we'll see how this pans out for him. But good game last night, Trey. Next up here on the scoop, defensive end Trey Hendrickson ends notorious holdout with Cincinnati Bengals. Will his return at this point in process hurt his contract negotiations, or will it hurt the Bengals?
So funny story. On Tuesday's live stream of No Credentials Required, ding, we were going through our top 5 NFC quarterbacks because we're making fun of ESPN's Mike Tannenbaum for his choice at number 1. I don't know if you got a chance to see the video I sent you, Drew, but but we were having some fun with it. And in the midst of it, Adam Schefter tells the news on Twitter and social media that Trey Hendrickson ended his holdout, which made the both of us laugh. It's like, wow, that backfired real quick. At this point, it's definitely going to hurt his contract standing. But I will say this for the Cincinnati Bengals, they handcuffed themselves. They handcuffed themselves by giving Joe Burrow a huge contract after he led them to the Super Bowl. Granted, that was warranted considering who he is. And they handcuffed themselves further by awarding huge contracts to not one, but their 2 best receivers in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, because they wanted to keep
$60 million between the two.
Sick amount of money
per year.
Sick amount of money.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, defensive players are being let go left and right, whether it's free agency or a cap casualty like Jermaine Pratt was, signs with the Raiders because it's a cap casualty, because they want to try to keep Hendrickson around or just try to get below the cap. But it won't so much hurt his contract negotiations. The guy's going to get paid. But it's going to hurt the Bengals because they're not going to be doing enough to help him on the defensive side. He can't play linebacker, and be in the secondary for pass coverage. He can't do it alone. So the Bengals already hurt themselves by awarding these huge contracts on the offensive side of the ball. And they want to keep their best pass rusher. And he wants more money. You don't have the money to pay him. Plus, it's Mike Brown. Mike Brown's the owner. He's finally ponying up money for his homegrown stars. But when the best defensive player wants a pay raise, it's like, nah. So the Bengals are hurting themselves just from what they've done in the past. And like I said, Trey Hendrickson's he's gonna get paid. It just won't be this year. I think he'll probably get the franchise tag. Can he be franchise tagged? Let's do the real-time research.
How old is he? Let's see. For one, he's 30. Yeah, he's been in the league long enough to be franchise tagged. Yeah,
yes, he can.
Because you got to be here at least 5 years.
He can be franchise tagged in 2026 if they fail to reach a long-term agreement. This is per Gemini on Google.
I mean, he can still sit out, but based on how he kind of tucked his tail between his legs and came back now, I don't see. I think that they franchise tag him next year. He's going to just come back because, you know, even though they're different positions, you look at somebody who held out for an entire year like Le'Veon Bell was never the same. You know, he sat out at the peak of his career, gets the money after he comes back, and then lays an egg because he had been out for a year. It's a year of reps you didn't get. You can do whatever you want to on the side for preparation and claim it's top notch, but then you get back onto the field and you realize it was nowhere even close to what you really needed. And I think that's what Trey Hendrickson was thinking about too. It's like, we can drag this out all the way throughout August. Nothing happens. And then I lost a month of reps, you know, and
he's a UFA after this year though. So he didn't really hurt himself, but I think this at the end of it, the Bengals hurt themselves because they put themselves in a position that he was going to hold out anyway.
Yeah, every single year we're asking. I mean, why, Bengals? You do this to yourself all the time. Consistently shoot yourself in the foot. It is ridiculous, and I digress. Our last topic here in the Gridiron Scoop. Yes, I did slightly make a homer pick, okay? But, I mean, you kind of have to talk about it based on the hype around the situation. He wasn't coming to camp. Then he shows up to camp, not the same way that we just talked about Trey Hendrickson. He's not showing up and actually, participating in drills and doing the things to prepare to play for that team. Commanders' contract dispute takes a shocking twist as Terry McLaurin seeks trade. Do you really believe that this is the end of a lengthy relationship between the franchise and the player, or is this one last power play to get the deal done?
It's one last power play to get the deal done. This is how agents roll. This is how agents roll in the NFL. This was all started by Drew Rosenhaus back in the day. This is the way to get his players played. Pony up the money. If the holdout doesn't work, you come back to practice. If you can't get things done, you demand a trade. I don't think the Commanders will trade him unless the asking price, if the team is giving them what they want in terms of 2 first-round draft, 2 firsts and maybe a second to throw in. Terry McLaurin's too important to this offense. He was the biggest helper with Jaden Daniels last year in him having the season that he had. And he's part of the renaissance. He's part of the Commanders' renaissance. So this is definitely a power play. This is one last power play to get things done. And we just saw Garrett Wilson get paid. Garrett Wilson just earned himself a 4-year extension, which won't go into effect until his rookie deal ends. But Terry McLaurin wants to be paid like a top 5 receiver. Is he a top 5 receiver? Absolutely, he's a top 5 receiver. In my opinion, he definitely is. Not saying that to butter up the host. Just saying. But
not being honest.
I'm not saying, but I'm saying
he was on any of the other 31 teams. Yeah, except Dallas.
Except Dallas. Yeah. Here's the creative thing. I said as soon as I saw that, and then breaking news, Micah Parsons has demanded a trade out of Cowboys world, which I'll address in our final thoughts, FYI. But it would be really funny if there was a 1-for-1. Terry McLaurin for Micah Parsons. In a bizarre world, this would work. Commanders get a pass rusher to complement Von Miller, and Gerald gets yet another wide receiver for Dak Prescott to throw to because he can't seem to attract any free agent, big name free agent running backs or draft a running back for that matter.
But they're not going to want to do that within the same division to see each other twice a year. I mean, that's why. I mean, historically, it's very rare when division rivals trade with one of the, let alone the stars of their team. Like literally, both of these players in question are like part of the top 3 core players on their respective teams. So, no, I don't see a trade scenario where McLaurin and Micah Parsons are swapped with picks and other players.
It would be absolutely hilarious if it was a different universe. If we go to the multiverse, yeah, it could happen. But this is not a multiverse. This is reality.
and for that, when it comes to reality, we'll do this.
Acknowledge me.
We will acknowledge the reality of the situation, that it's not looking good. But
you guys want to hear a fucking story?
Heel turn.
He's not going anywhere. To all of you, and it has been literally it's at the dozens now in the past couple of days since this news broke. The reaching out because now they're like, oh, let's hit him up. They're gonna crumble now. McLaurin's gone. First of all, he's not even gone. Second of all, this happened on the 31st of July. We hadn't even gotten to August yet. Okay,
it's barely 24 hours.
Yes, until we get halfway through the month, and if it were in the same spot, I'm not going to be concerned about this because he's a 7-year pro. He knows what it takes to get ready. It's not like he's a second or third year player still bumping and grinding, trying to figure things out. He's been there long enough. He's kept his body in shape. He's ready to play football now, but the franchise has to do right by him. And I agree. He deserves to be paid like a top 5 receiver. And that I say that if he was on the other 31 teams, one of the other 31 teams, except Dallas, we have already established that we cannot do that for them. They don't deserve the kind of help over there, considering the mismanagement by Gerard. So
he'll put salt on his McMuffin, but he won't bring in a running back to help Dak Prescott.
He'll put salt on his McMuffin.
You don't remember that from Hard Knocks?
No.
Yeah, he puts
salt. It's already got enough salt in it. I just had a McMuffin yesterday.
Dude, you're 80 years old. You're a multi-billionaire. You can do whatever the heck you want. That includes put salt on a Egg McMuffin.
I mean, I feel like the mother father's got enough salt on it as it is. And this comes from somebody who's big and likes food. Okay. So that's my take on it. But he doesn't need salt on a McMuffin. Get that out of here as we take that on out of here. And speaking of people acting like snowflakes, because he has to act like a snowflake, putting salt on a McMuffin, let's go ahead and take it into the things that he represents. Oh, yeah. It's that time for the snowflake of the week. Let's keep it in order this time. Ryan, let us know who you're thinking your choice of the snowflake of the week is.
I hate to do this because I have so much respect for them.
Uh-oh.
But the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks, especially after last week against Toronto, who has been god-awful this year, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, particularly their offense. Their offense was terrible last week against Toronto. 7 turnovers. Includes 2 lost fumbles, 2 interceptions thrown by Zach Collaros before he went down with a neck injury, and 3 turnovers on downs. I originally said to Drew they surrendered 5 sacks. They got 5 sacks. They only surrendered 1 sack. So oops on my part. I deserve a snowflake of the week for that mistake. But they did not score a touchdown until the end of the third quarter. They could drive down the field, but they could not complete drives with touchdowns. That has not been a problem with past Winnipeg Blue Bombers teams over the last half decade. But for some reason this year, and especially in this game, they can't finish drives with a touchdown. So Winnipeg Blue Bombers, you got to pick it up because you got the Argonauts once again tonight. But this week, you were my snowflake of the week because your offense was just awful.
It was bad. It was bad. Very, very, very bad. And with that being said, Ryan's up there. You could hear me. I was just kind of floating around back there somewhere. But with that being said, it's now my turn for the snowflake of the week. And I know you're not going to be surprised when you hear me start to lay into it. That is the Edmonton Elks offense. Because collectively, 11 penalties for 133 yards. Your total rushing. We talked about what it was without the quarterback. Put the quarterback's numbers in there. They still had 9 carries for 25 rushing yards. Oh yeah. On top of that, they allowed 8 sacks for a loss of 64 yards. Not only the fact that they allowed the 8 sacks, but you had a loss of 64 yards. A negative net of 64 yards.
Ew.
So, when you have that, you deserve to be the Snowflake of the Week. You don't deserve to be a king. You deserve what you get, and that is the award of Snowflake of the Week. I don't feel bad. The people shouldn't feel bad. They should be happy with this choice.
And somehow they almost wound up pulling off the win.
They did.
If they had won, would you have given the Snowflake of the Week to your Saskatchewan Roughriders?
I might.
Okay.
Because at that point, if you lose to a team that has stats like we had just mentioned, okay, stats like these, and you lose to a team that's establishing terrible numbers like this, you cannot not give them that award.
Okay, fair.
But it's kind of a shoulda, coulda, woulda because it didn't happen yet. But the year's still young, and they play each other again. So
that's true, they do.
We'll see how that pans out. But when it comes to Snowflakes, you're right. Terrible. And
Ezzy asked a question about the Cowboys having a real receiver.
No.
Dustin answered the question. You could argue CD Lamb, but now they got George Pickens, and boy.
And there's a rumor that McLaurin could potentially go to Pittsburgh. I don't think that if they were going to deal with DK and Pickens, they're not going to deal with that because, yeah, you'll have a short window of success potentially, but then the same question's going to linger about the pay, and that's what got them into this situation to begin with. I don't think he's going anywhere. I agree with you again that it's a power play move, that he's staying in Washington, even though I just went backwards again. But yes, thank you all for replying to each other out here in the chats and keeping us engaged as well out here in these streams. We're going to take our last commercial break real quick, but when we come on back, we still have the 2-minute drill and the post game. We'll see you guys here on the other side of this commercial break. If for some reason, hold on.
StreamYard.
StreamYard it won't let me scroll down.
What are we doing?
I don't know. I just want to click the commercial break, but I was just able to do this with all the other things that we had. And for some reason, I can't even click over here and go down. I would have to raise that all the way up. Yeah, I can't access it. Maybe it's like an omen that we're not going to commercial break.
Maybe the Lord is telling us to keep going.
Maybe. But at the same time, it's like I'm not even being able to get to the outro. How are we going to end the show? This is crazy.
You back on out real quick. I'll keep it rolling with 2-minute drill.
We keep rolling them in. Oh, let me hang on. Don't go too far away.
I'm not going anywhere.
I wouldn't say I'll be right back. But I would. All
right. While Drew's gone, Dustin actually asked a good question while we're talking about Trey Lance. He says in the comments, like, don't know if Trey will get it going, but Geno Smith's story. Hey, look at that. Geno Smith's story proves anything can happen. Geno's rebuild started with the Chargers. Right coach and situation. Who knows? Hey, could work. I mean, Geno Smith had a rough go in New York. Signs with the Chargers. Goes to the Giants. Then signs with Seattle. Had a great turnaround in Seattle with Pete Carroll, and then later with Mike McDonald. Now he's a Raider.
He's a Raider. Now that your suggestion worked, and I don't have to feel like kicking StreamYard in the face if it was an actual person We're going to go ahead and stick with the plan, and we'll see you guys back here right in 2 minutes.
Later, the post game. But coming up next, the 2-minute drill. This is Total Football Talk.
You know it, and I know it. Let's get ready for it. When that will happen, we don't know.
I'm telling you. I mean, look at the bottom of the graphic. Look at this man. Look at him. He's gonna be like a Dollar Tree Charlie Chaplin or something. Like, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $ D Willie 87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
In a world where chronicles of the past are brought to the streams, whether the content is relatable or completely beyond your realm of life, there is no shadow of a doubt that this show is absolutely full of shenanigans. Get ready for
D Willie in the evening.
This Sunday at 10:05 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk, episode 95. I am Drew Willingham, along with the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. Ryan McCarthy, as we are here, StreamYard throwing us curveballs. I'm still hung up on that 2.5 minutes later, StreamYard. Get it together, because we cannot afford to take like that. Now,
Surprise, motherfucker.
we're in the 2-minute drill when it comes to that surprise. And we got to talk about the games that are on tap for the remaining games for this weekend. And one of them starts in about an hour and a half. For the week 9 games that are left, the Toronto Argonauts travel to Winnipeg to take on the Blue Bombers, a rematch from the previous week, where it was in Toronto. Will it be flipped, and will Winnipeg get the revenge at home, or will we see the Argos repeat this for 2 weeks straight?
Well, hopefully, I've been monitoring the Twitter channel of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. There was some concern about air quality because of smoke from wildfires. It's like, come on, Canada, get your stuff together with that. So right now, it's gonna go as scheduled. So hopefully, we won't have another delay like we did a couple weeks ago with the Roughriders and Stampeders, where the game had to be postponed until the next afternoon, which would be difficult considering that there are 2 Saturday games tomorrow. But hopefully, it looks things are trending toward an 8:30 p.m. start, which is good. Looking at the depth chart for the Blue Bombers, Chris Streveler's getting the start tonight. So this is going to be a run-heavy game, I think, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's going to be at home, which is a good thing because they've been playing kind of rough on the road this season. But this game's been on the mind for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for the last week, and it would be certainly on my mind too, considering their offense did not perform the way they had been in the past. But I'm kind of curious to see how they handle things offensively with Streveler in the lineup. Are there going to be a lot of short pass plays? Are we going to see a lot of slants? Are we going to see not a lot of deep thrown balls again because Streveler's arm's not as strong as Kolaris? Are we going to see a running game similar to what Saskatchewan does when Tommy Stevenson's in the lineup? Maybe we see some RPOs where Streveler keeps the ball and they just grind down the other team like they've done in the past. On the flip side for Toronto, wash, rinse, repeat. Just do the same thing they did last week. Sustain drives, keep the ball in your possession for most of the game so you don't allow Winnipeg a chance to go on the field. It'll be allowed at Princess Auto Stadium. But I think the prevailing motivation for Winnipeg is the fact that the last 4 games against Toronto, they've lost all 4 of them. So I'm going to take the Blue Bombers in this game. Home crowd, motivating factors, and I think they just keep the ball in possession for a good chunk of the game. And if you can win the turnover battle, if you don't have 7 turnovers like last week, keep the ball in your possession. Don't fumble it. Don't throw in interceptions. Don't turn it over on downs. You can win this game. So I'm going to take the Blue Bombers in this one. It'll be close, but I'm taking the Blue Bombers in this one.
You bring up a lot of good, solid points, and especially looking back of how we thought about this matchup previous to the last game they had last week.
Yeah.
I would be sitting here agreeing with you, but for the first time in quite some time, with the first game of a 2-minute drill that we are predicting, I'm going to disagree, and I'm going to say that I think the Argos find a way to do it, and here's the golden goose that they have. They have Lirim! Lirim was the all-star in that last game. Perfect. 6 of 6 for field goals. Lirim, the MVP, yet again for the second straight week for this team against the other team that they're repeating themselves of contest against. I'm going with Lirim being the decisive factor. I'm giving the Toronto Argonauts the win here in week 9.
Okay. Yeah, we disagreed on the Hamilton BC game last week, and your boy got the win.
5 straight. 5 straight. One more time. 5 straight. Got to give it to him. Had to click the button one more time because he's doing this to a lot of people in the other teams right now. 5 straight teams have been effed up by the Bo Levi Mitchell led squad. With that being said, let's go ahead and take this into the next one.
Who's giving them the business?
So for Saturday, we have 2 games this week. It's not a Saturday and Sunday game. I don't know if that has anything to do with SummerSlam or not, but I mean, probably not. But it would be smart because more people are going to be watching Sunday anyway. That's when John Cena made events for the last time.
But why are we having a 2-day SummerSlam? Come on, you can fit all these events and you can fit all these matches into one night. Anywho,
6 hours of wrestling. You wouldn't watch 6 hours of a
cut the card in half and just make it that's my.
They got too good a talent, man. They kind of have to make room for these big events because SummerSlam's with the WrestleMania of the mid-year. So, but I digress. But when we have these Saturday matchups, somebody's going to get decimated. I think it's going to be in this first Saturday game that we have between the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Edmonton Elks at 3:00. I think the Elks are going to get decimated by the Tiger Cats here. Do you agree with my thought process on this because of how bad the Elks are playing? There's like literally nothing decisive from their play that's making me think otherwise to come back at this and say they're going to beat the Tiger Cats. I say the Elks lose, and they lose pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Hamilton's coming down in the heater, 5 wins in a row. They're beating up on the teams that deserve to get beat up on. They beat the the Alouettes when they didn't have their starting quarterback, and they just took that game by surprise. They beat Toronto. They beat Ottawa twice on a back-to-back, and they beat BC, who is good offensively, but defensively they're soft. And they're playing another team that is, you could argue, that is soft defensively in the Edmonton Elks. Special teams, they're pretty good on special teams at Edmonton. I think Cody Fajardo gives them the best chance to win, but Bo Levi, and that group of receivers he has. If you can't find Kenny the King Lawler, he's got other receivers to throw to. So it's gonna be a 2-score game. I think it's gonna be a 2-score game. You see they're gonna get decimated. I think it's gonna be at least a 2-score game for sure.
Okay. 2-score game. I mean, I'm not mad at it. I mean, based on the points that you brought up and what I was kind of leading into. I mean, the Elks they're not convincing us any other way that they're going to win this game. And the fact that it's decisive by both of us saying that, it says a lot when looking back on how this game has been played by them for now 2 long, miserable months. If you're a fan of the Edmonton Elks.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
And for the last Saturday game, I didn't do the greatest with announcing the records with the other 2 games, but I'll at least say it here. The Montreal Alouettes, who are 5-2, are hosting the 6-1 Saskatchewan Roughriders. And this could be the game of the week, let alone potentially the game of the first half of the season. With all that being said, Ryan, am I a little far-fetched with that, or am I kind of close to being on point with that prediction?
No, you're not far off. And the reason why this could be the game of the week, let alone the game of the first half of the season, is because of the defenses. Both defenses are excellent. Saskatchewan, we saw it last week with it, 8 sacks and 20-something yards allowed rushing, 25 yards rushing allowed. Montreal allowed no points on 5 consecutive drives in their win against Calgary last week. They're not scoring points. They're not scoring a whole lot of points. They're kind of doing their thing, trying to run the ball, trying to keep possession of the ball. And that's how they're going to win. Keep the other teams off the field. This is going to be a difficult game. Even though they're at home, it'll be another beautiful night at Percival Molson Stadium on the campus of McGill University in downtown Montreal. This is a tough game to pick, man. It's a tough game to pick because I love my Alouettes. My second team in terms of the CFL is the Saskatchewan Roughriders, because they were the same colors as my favorite NFL football team, the New York Jets. So, you know what? I'm going to go with Montreal in this game. It's going to be a defensive battle. It'll be a low-scoring game, although in the CFL, anything can happen. But I think they'll keep the offense of the Roughriders off the field enough to where it'll be death by 1,000 paper cuts on offense for the Alouettes because like I said, the running attack is not that impressive unless somehow Sean Thomas Erlington has a huge game. You get the law offices of McLeod Bethel Thompson at the helm again at quarterback, but he did a decent job last week against Calgary in that he didn't turn the ball over a whole lot, had that 1 interception, got it out early, but still led the team to a game-winning drive to get that win. And Jose Maltos is an excellent kicker. So I think this will be a low-scoring affair. The defenses will shine, but I think Montreal will do enough offensively to where they're gonna not make a whole lot of mistakes. You're gonna see the ball spread around a lot on short passes, especially. Yards after catch is going to be important, especially with Cole Speaker and with Sneed as your main targets at wide receiver. But for me, I'm taking the Alouettes in a very close, low-scoring game.
For the love of Kermit the Frog, why couldn't you have just picked the Saskatchewan Roughriders? You know you wanted to, but then you had to go into your homer pick. So it's not even a surprise, without a shadow of a doubt of a surprise. You know who I'm picking.
I know who you're picking.
I'm going to pick the hopefully improved to 7-1 Saskatchewan Roughriders, as you picked your homer pick, and I'm going to pick mine too. Homer versus Homer. Not Homer J. Simpson. Homer pick. Going with the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Oh, man.
I even had to bring a different background.
You know it would come to this eventually.
Oh, yeah. At some
During the
point.
show. At some point, with our teams playing, we're going to both go with the homer picks. But, hey, that's why we're here.
And they deserved it, but the BC Lions get the bye this week. They deserve to get the break, especially with how competitive they were in that game with the Hamilton Tiger Kitties. But with that being said, that rounds up the games that we have left for week 9. Let us know here in the comments who you think are going to win those games, whether you're watching this live or in the replay. But with that being said, we still have one more segment, and that is the post game.
Total Football Talk.
As long as it's one. Oh, that's great. I love it.
Now is that time in the program where we give you our final thoughts here within episode 95. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and let Ryan start it on out, let you know what he's thinking to close out episode 90, Mother, Father, and 5.
All right. So I had originally I was going to go with how the Jets beat writers absolutely hate the Jets fan base until this afternoon when I saw Micah Parsons post a long post about how he doesn't feel appreciated in Dallas and now he wants a trade. So between Terry McLaurin asking for a trade and now Micah Parsons asking for a trade, my biggest pet peeve on social media when it comes to players holding out who in their last resort to get paid a big contract is that to demand a trade. My biggest pet peeve is when the content creators come out of the woodwork and they try to figure out and they try to do the math in their head and play virtual Madden in their heads of how they can get that player who's holding out and demanding a trade on their team. I see it all the time on social media, and I despise it because it's not based in reality. Reality of the situation is the NFL has a salary cap. They have a salary cap for a reason. The salary cap is put in place to keep things competitive. Major League Baseball, hello. It keeps things competitive amongst all 32 teams. When you have a player who has made impacts for their team, like a Terry McLaurin and like a Micah Parsons, saying that I don't feel appreciated, I don't feel like I'm paying what I'm getting the value of what I deserve to be paid. I want to go. I want to be traded. The content creators come out of the woodwork. I see it from Rams fan. I see it from Jets fan. I see it from Jets fan. Let's calm our tatas a little bit, Jets fans, Jets content creators. I see it from Bills fans. I see it from Chiefs fans. I see it from Patriots fans. You guys are spoiled, by the way. All the content creators coming out of the woodwork and making these hypothetical situations where they could bring in a certain player to help their team. Stop it. Okay? Please stop it. Put yourself in reality. Base yourself in reality. Stop spouting hypotheticals on the internet because you're trying to drive content, you're trying to draw clicks and views to your pages, to your account, want people to follow you. Stop. Okay? Just stop. I'm tired of the hypotheticals. I'm tired of the cosplay of GMs for all these creators because it's just not based in reality. Your team is who your team is. And every time I see that this comes out, a player wants out of a certain market, all the content creators come out of the woodwork, and it's just tiring. And it's just, I just want to throw my laptop out of my window and quit the internet for the day, because I'm just so tired of the GM cosplay. It's ridiculous. So, Terry McLaurin, I hope you work things out in Washington, because you belong there. Micah Parsons, I'm sorry that you're going through the situation, because your owner is a clown, because he overplayed CD Lamb and he overpaid their quarterback, who has done not a lick of difference for the Cowboys since he got there. He's got like one playoff win in however many years he's been there. 2 playoff wins. And the last time they were in the playoffs, they got absolutely mollywopped by Jordan Love, who we've talked about on our show, No Credentials Required. Ding! Is only good toying during Toyotathon. And again, I'm sorry for Micah Parsons, but man, like, the content creators, take a chill pill for a day. Go touch grass. Go get a life. Just stop spouting your nonsense.
You might need to smoke it. I don't know. But whatever you got to do, calm down. Like, people are acting ridiculous out here. But you said it perfectly. I don't even want to throw anything else into that, because you made really good points with that, to where I don't even have to talk about Terry McLaurin's situation again. So that is awesome. But there is one part of this franchise that I will talk about, in the fact that there are still rumblings, and it continues to escalate in the political sense. But there are still rumblings in the background about Trump pushing for the Redskins and the Indians to return in the respective MLB and NFL markets. And it's obvious when you're reading these articles. It's nowadays, there's no question. When you read certain things, you could tell what they are affiliate of, what they're an affiliation with, and how everything has just became so political over the years, and whether a person has made this mistake or that mistake, or was a better fit than the last person or the next person or the person 2 presidents from now, has nothing to do with this. Okay. And, there are more important things that the government could be focusing on than the name of a team that, caused so many people, shielded by whatever it was at the time, but still people to be in an uproar more than what they were of past, to where the name was forcibly changed. I just don't like the whole that there's being politics being brought into it. And, people calling it what they call it. Okay. Regardless of how you feel, whether the logo comes back and it's a different name, or they bring the name back and the logo, I think at that point, whether it's a grandfather clause of some sort or some type of stamp, that you can never remove it once it's brought back. Like, once it's brought back, because you've already erased history to your eyes at this point, to where you took it away and they don't really mention it. However, if they grant the Redskins to return, the name, the logo, the history, there should be some type of clause that if we bring this back, we can never take it away again, because it was acknowledged at one point as a racist term. However, the tribes of what that logo is depicting think otherwise. It is something that they honor and cherish. Not in the way that people who want to turn politics into everything do, to whine and cry and get their way. I personally, at this point, I don't care if the name ever goes back to Redskins or not. I really don't. We had our time in the sun. All right. I had like 35 years of my life with the name, with the team, and I've got them on me. So that will never go away. But what I will say is this. When it comes to politics, it needs to stay in politics and not be brought into sport. And yes, it goes both ways. But I don't, and you could call this naive or whatever. I don't think Trump is really doing this to upset the people. I think he's truly doing this because there are people, and whether you like it or not, there's more people that are upset that the name was changed, whether it's the Indians or the Redskins, that the name was changed to something else, whether they like it or it's grown on them at this point or not. Still forced them to change. Both teams, both franchises in their respective sport lost fans because of it. And it wasn't until they started playing better, and especially for the Commanders' now sake, they would not have had that attendance that they had last year had they not gotten to the hot start that they did, especially beating the Bengals on Monday Night Football. That was the spark that really set the season on fire. And, those things don't come around that often. And regardless of what you think, the fans that are in that field, formerly known as FedEx Field, they are not there to watch the Washington Commanders. They are there to watch the Washington Redskins. So for as much as our president, past, present, future, has made mistakes, okay, you got to separate the two, politics and sports. And whatever you think of him getting involved is the exact opposite. I disagree because there's been a lot of clamoring for this to happen, for it to go back. There's been petitions that have been going on since the name was changed in 2020 to begin with, that of Native American tribes trying to get the name reestablished. And now in 2025, it took 5 years, but there's real progress to the point to where our president is stepping in. I think at some point you're going to get your wish. Might not be by the hand of our president, but the name's coming back. Well, I take that back. Whether it's the logo with the name or just the logo and a different name, one of the two is coming back. The logo and the name, or both. You tell me what you think here in the comments, because this situation is absolutely ridiculous.
So, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I like that. I digress.
Yep. I don't know if you saw the link I dropped in our private chat, but we have some breaking-ish news from your beloved Washington Commanders.
Nice. Finally, I mean, we've been talking about it for weeks. I mean, there was still a step-by-step process of what they had to go through, but DC Council approves Commanders Stadium deal, return to district.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that the name still can't change it.
No, but the fact that they're moving back to DC, the first step in their move back to DC has been approved because they needed 2/3 majority in the council. They got the 2/3 majority, and now it moves to a second step, which is coming September 17th. And from the looks of it, most of the investment in the new stadium is going to be from the Commanders themselves, from the ownership group. So,
as much as these TV deals are bringing these teams, no matter what sport they're in, I mean, they got the capital. But
Commanders will invest $2.7 billion to build the stadium, while the district will contribute $1 billion, $3.7 billion for a stadium. But it says the team has long this is per ESPN. The team has long targeted 2030 as the year a stadium must open, in large part so it can host big events such as the Women's World Cup in 2031. I want to see if there's going to get a retractable roof situation, because you could see a Super Bowl in DC at that point in the next decade.
I'm just really interested to see what they do with the build-up around it, with like the nightlife around it, and then like, of course, the hotels, the apartments and stuff. There's a huge plan in place for that. And then you also would have to develop the roads over there. They suck. Like we made last year, we went to the Hail Mary game. we made a wrong turn and ended up going in the area where the RFK is. We had to loop around. That's how close FedEx and the old RFK are. And just the roads around that stadium and navigating to the interstate was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. They've got a lot of work on their hands, and they've got to do it in 4 years, like literally like right at, because 2026 going to be here before you know it. We're already in August. We're 4 months in, 4 months left from this being over. And then you literally have 26, 27, 28, and 29. You'll have 4 good years to get this done. So hats off to them. I know I ranted about the name coming back of the logo, but with the breaking news, the chances are slimmer. But we shall see what happens when it comes to this beloved league that we both agreeably love in the National Football League. And my team that, yes, I'm an absolute homer for, and that being why the colors are in the Sartoba Media logo. Before we get on out of here, speaking of Sartoba Media, I wasn't going to do it. I was going to stop it at 36, but we are doing a special go-home edition of D. Willie in the evening this Sunday night after SummerSlam. SummerSlam Night 2 concludes around 11 o'clock, and if it doesn't, we'll be streaming live as they are ending it up. There will be a couple special guests that are confirmed at this point, but as far as who, you'll have to tune in to find out who will be with me going upstream in the Season 3 go-home episode this Sunday, 11:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Just throwing this one out there is literally the title. So that's literally what's happening. We're just going to talk wrestling and chop it up and have a good time. But just like chopping it up, having a good time with that, we've done the same here today with Canadian football and the National Football League, to the fact that we've only got one more thing left to do there, Mr. McCarthy, and that's look at a decent outro.
Yeah.
You know, for my man Ryan McCarthy, I am Drew Willingham. As I say at the end of every episode, please, for the love of yourselves and those who care about you, stay safe out here in these streets.